Today on One, your daily dose of local affairs and social media commentary.
Today on One, destitute group aggrieved by unfair treatment. Grade 11 learners left in limbo. 4,000 classrooms needed to address shortage. Delegates from Stellenbosch University pay Windhoek Mayor a visit. And NAFAO and NFCPT reach consensus.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namibia Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
The homeless living in the Katutura Youth Complex Stadium are aggrieved by the unfair treatment they are receiving from the volunteers left in charge at the camp. They recently handed over petitions to the Ministry of Health and the Commerce Governor's Office. The group, who was relocated to the Katutura Youth Complex Stadium since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, say that the life has become unbearable as they receive threats and often go without food because of the alleged tribalistic volunteers who were left in charge.
Now, I have the problem with the certain volunteers which is with us, in between the volunteers which has been voted as a volunteers to work for the homeless, but they are now departed. And some of the volunteers which are with us is working for us. And then the others are disappointing us with the things they are doing. Because once they have told us they must be sent the soldiers so that they can pick us up out of that camp. And secondly, the food side also is included. Because they are demanding things from their homeless community. Then if they get those things, they are dividing in the exco food.
In the camp, how we are living now, the situation which is in the camp is not a good situation. Because the volunteer for former councillor, they are in the ground and they are saying the kennel from the Ministry of Health is not in the ground anymore, it's from governor. Now we want to ask the governor, because he's the one who gives those people power to threaten us. Because when we're asking them, why are you doing this to us? The answer they are answering us is they are saying they get the power from governor. So now we want to ask the governor, because our mother has been insulted since from last year. We've been threatened since from last year up to now. And the condition which we are in is not a good condition for now. We have been tired for threatened. Now we want to ask the governor, because he's the one who gives those people power to rule on the camp. Now they are saying they are the owner of the camp. They are the boss on the camp. They were given the power through by the governor.
Reading the petition to the personal assistant of the governor, the group leader Johannes Ningapo highlighted the issues faced by the homeless in the camp.
The previous Department of Social Workers in the Ministry of Health abandoned us and left the program in disarray, and where the homeless are almost nearly and about to going back to the streets. In this instance, Mr. Mundia delivered on the 19th, the second month, 2021, Friday, while accompanied by the crew of councillor volunteers. These called volunteers offloaded the food by put them to their own tents where they have been sleeping. Unconducively and unacceptably, they started distributed the food among the ex-South African fighters and their kids, while we are hardly observing. Directly during after hours, food was again dispatched to the Land Cruiser pickup grey to beige in color and drove out of the field, leaving us as homeless, vulnerable. Some of the volunteers shows no remorse about the disadvantaged scenario we find ourselves through this travesty they caused. The disillusion they opted on us goes one-sided, but not to all of us. Only one group are most advantaged, which is the ex-South African soldier exclusively, not both of us as in collective bargain on the ground. Alternatively, everything are done purposely one-sided to discredit the supervisors that are involved in the program. Hence, even with the media, we as homeless were sidelined for the interviews in order our voices not to be heard.
We know there is a responsible department working directly with the complex, who are 24 hours on duty to try to address the situation. But it's good that you have notified the governor office about these grievances as a stakeholder also in this problem. I hope we will revert back to you.
Ningapo further said that the condition that they live in is deplorable, with many starving to death while food is allegedly only being given to ex-Kufud members also housed at the camp.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
The Landless People's Movement LPM Student Command Element says students cannot afford the exuberant registration fees at tertiary institutions and that the new curriculum has left the future of grade 11s in chaos. LPM Student Command Element leader Dominga Ndala said that the Namibia Student Financial Assistance Fund NASFAF is already struggling to pay the current students' registration, questioning whether the institution will be able to accommodate the grade 11s that will be leaving school for tertiary education.
I think there was no intensive consultation between the institutions of higher learning, the parents, the Ministry of Education, and all other financial institutions such as NASFAF. I think with UNAM refusing the grade 11s to actually access institution of higher learning, it's within their mandate that they do not want to downgrade the educational system in the country, and they want to keep on par or rather benchmark their marks with the institutions of higher learning in SADC or above SADC. So I think we should all go to the drawing board. I think it's important that we probably allow the students to go back to AC level and actually continue with grade 12, because it does not make sense that now this learners had to do a two-year course normally, but they had to do it in 1 year. So it basically means that, number one, they are not fully equipped for university. Number two, they have not really comprehend the curriculum that is for the grade 11 and 12 under the old legacy. And I think it's important that going forward that we avoid this inconsistency or this mismatch in their education system. And I think we need to call for a whole reform. I think it will be wise for the Ministry of Education to actually call for another educational conference where we actually rectify these nitty-gritties. And with NASFAF, one can't really be sure whether they are going to fund these students, because NASFAF has proven to be disloyal, has proven to be inconsistent in terms of funding. Right now they can't even fund those that are already found in the system. So how sure are we that they'll be able to fund these grade 11s?
The Student Union of Namibia's Sun leadership has also questioned NASFAF's readiness to financially assist grade 11 learners with their studies.
At the shocking part that our system and our government, it operates from bedroom. The grade 11, this year they are going to tertiary. The institute that is there to be able to them, that to make them the access to education, they have not found the model of funding for the grade 11. When you go to the NASA policy now, people are funded by grade 12. 25 in 5, BTC by grade 10. So now they implement a new curriculum. The learner, they are applying for tertiary. We don't know now if this learner are going to be funded based on what. And the Kandume just wake up and said, yes, they are going to be funded. Tomorrow, we are going to hear we have to go back in the street. No, this learner is not funded. This one is funded based on what? So it's going to promote corruption. It's going to promote nepotism. It's going to promote favoritism. So how do you operate like that? And that is one sign that yes, the CEO is not having capacity. The person is acting. He's just operating in vacuum. So we want clarity in these kind of things. Serious clarity. The minister of Education is one of incompetent ministers. Just recently, UNAM pronounced as if you are not taking the grade 11. UNAM is a stakeholder in education. They were there in the consultation when this new curriculum was introduced. Now, here again, the grade 11 are into limbo.
The Sun leadership is preparing to engage all relevant players to discuss the way forward for the grade 11s.
My brother, if she say no, she means no. Let's speak out against gender-based violence. Together, we can make Namibia a safer place for everyone. My Namibia, my country, my pride.
Most public schools in Namibia, especially those in remote areas, haven't had decent classrooms despite the country being independent for over 30 years. Some learners are still being taught in post-colonial rundown military barracks, while others are being taught inside tents and under trees. According to the Deputy Director of Corporate Planning in the Education Ministry, Alex Sikume, the country is short of 4,000 classrooms.
When you look at the focus of the ministry is to provide education to the Namibian child. And what we want is each child should have access to quality education, regardless of where they are. And the challenge that we have is schools in urban areas have proper infrastructure, and we still have learners in rural areas, as alluded to by Timu Ikanyo, that rural schools, some of them are still in tents. This is the reality. Dilapidated structure, this is the reality. And we don't want to do that because we are defeating the purpose of providing quality education.
MTC, through its Rural School Project, is partnering with the government of Namibia to build quality classrooms for learners, especially those in remote areas. The Omatako Primary School in Tsumkwe will be one of those institutions to benefit from the initiative.
This school was started in 1981. Quite a lot of students and teachers, and they are still being told in these old army barracks that were built pre-independence. But not because it's an army barracks, because you can find inspiration in any classroom, but it's because of the dilapidated state of those classrooms. And that's why we have decided on Omatako. Usually we will take 2 schools, but this time we are taking 1 school only because of the great need that Omatako has.
For the first time in 40 years, 6 new classrooms as well as a storeroom will be built at the school. Ochodon Jupa Governor James Urikwa expressed his gratitude and assured the nation that his constituency is doing its best to ensure positive initiatives are being implemented.
Tsumkwe constituency is lagging behind in terms of a socio-economic development trajectory. And such initiatives come in very handy because the employment will be given to those that are on the ground, to those young men and women that are sleeping at home and hoping one day I'll be able to get a job. So thank you very much again for that, MTC.
The Rural School Project was initiated in 2020 and has since built 8 classrooms at the Okondwane Primary School in Opuo and Sizongoro Combined School in Rundu for 1.6 million Namibia dollars.
We are molded with the utmost intricacy, unique and ever-evolving. But we will always need a guiding hand.
A delegation from the Stellenbosch University, led by Vice-Chancellor Wim de Villiers, paid the Mayor of Windhoek a courtesy call this week. They discussed a partnership between Windhoek, the town of Stellenbosch, and its university. Stellenbosch is a town in South Africa that hosts one of the most prestigious universities on the continent. The Windhoek Mayor, Job Amupanda, was once a student at Stellenbosch and got to meet its Vice-Chancellor to discuss areas of cooperation between the two municipalities and the institution.
So what we're trying to do is also to have that tripartite arrangement. So it's Stellenbosch University, Stellenbosch Municipality, and the city of Windhoek to be able to do. They are quite very strong in studies in water, in water affairs. And you know, we had a water problem and water consumptions and issues of meters and things like this. There's a lot that we can learn from them, and he spoke fondly about that aspect of water. And we also spoke about the fact that we are reviewing our international relations policy. So they've also very strong international studies. We want to see what is it that we can do in that score. We also spoke about urban agriculture, and you know that they have a very strong faculty of agricultural.
Amupanda spoke highly of Stellenbosch and described it as one of the best institutions of higher learning on the continent.
Having studied there and gotten 2 degrees, it's a prestigious university. It's the 3rd best university on the African continent. So first he wanted just to convey his excitement as a university leadership that one of their students have gotten this far, which is something that I really appreciate personally. They are going to be here and they are going to join also. We ask our international office to organize meetings with NAST and also the University of Namibia. They have had meetings. They are also going to Swakopmund to be able to engage and also enjoy our beautiful country.
Amupanda also pointed out to the delegation that the city wants to introduce a knowledge and evidence-based decision-making process and has signed agreements with local universities for this purpose. The meeting was also attended by the Deputy Mayor Clementia Hanases and other senior municipal officials.
We can't wait to get together again, to welcome new friends, meet up with old ones, and play until the sun comes up. We can't wait to fill our stadiums again. In fact, we can't wait to get the whole gang together. But until then, let's stay safe.
The Namibia Food and Allied Workers Union and the Namibia Fish Consumption Promotion Trust have reached an agreement to the just-ended employee strike, which started on the 12th of February and ended on the 1st of March 2021. Public Relations Officer for the Namibia Fish Consumption Promotion Trust has confirmed that all employees are back to work, with all its fish shops open for business countrywide after having been interrupted by the workers' strike. This is following agreements that the Trust management has reached with the Namibia Food and Allied Workers Union, which represents the employees.
Both parties came to an amicable solution and decided that, okay, we're going to recognize the efforts of the staff members by giving the performance recognition bonus to all the staff members. This is based on the performance of the trust for the 2020-2021 financial year, whereby the trust managed to have an average increase of 49% increase as compared to the 2019-2021 2020 financial year.
The Union Secretary General notes that the new agreements will come into effect as of the 1st of April this year, adding that the Union still has to engage 3 institutions on the pension fund options for the employees.
We agree as follows. The financial year for 2020-2021, we agree for the once-off payment of 6,500 Namibian dollar to each employees in the bargaining unit. That will be paid in 2 installments. The 3,000 to be paid to each employees before the 12th of March this year, and the remaining 3,500 to be paid to each employees before or on the 9th of April this year. Then the financial year 2021-2022, we agree that the employees were posting into 3 categories, whereby category 1 they were proposing 10%, category A. Then we agree for 8%. Category B, we were proposing 8% and we agree for 6%. And category C, we were proposing 6% and we agree for 5%. With the housing allowance, we were proposing 5% on top of the current 20%, but we agree for 2%, which means now the housing allowance will be 22% of each employee's basic salary.
The union has further urged employers to try and solve workers' grievances before they resort to strikes, further asking workers to also bring their part in terms of work productivity.
In other leading stories, the Business and Intellectual Property Authority, together with its stakeholders, are currently in the process of reviewing the Copyright and Neighbouring Rights Protection Act No. 6 of 1994. The revision of this act affects all musicians, authors, artists, developers and originators of creative works and is aimed at updating and modernizing copyright protection in Namibia. Partnering with BIPA is the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, UNESCO and the IPLC. The review process started in 2019 when BIPA engaged with affected stakeholders on different platforms. BIPA will now offer stakeholders in the regions the opportunity to provide further input into the working document for the development of the new copyright legal framework in Namibia. This will be done by a team of specialists visiting all 14 regions and consulting the various constituencies and affected stakeholders to ensure that sufficient input has been received, ultimately making the draft bill one that has been widely consulted on. Consultations will take place throughout the month of March. The aim is to make the laws more responsive to the existing business and innovation environment to ensure that Namibia reaches its objective of improving business, attracting foreign and domestic investment, and thereby spurring economic growth and prosperity.
Welcome to Comments Corner, your daily dose of local comments from the hottest social media pages. The Agricultural Bank of Namibia has announced the winners in the first round of the bank's Women and Youth Loan Scheme Facebook Selfie Competition. The competition started in October 2020 and runs until the end of April this year. Sudi wished that she too had a portion of land to grow and partake in the competition. Wilhelmina congratulated the lucky winners. Esther said if she had more space, she too would have started a garden. And that is all from Comments Corner. Be sure to post your comments on our social media pages for broadcast every day only on DN1.
Welcome to the last segment in our Savvy and 60 series, which aims to educate you on all things insurance. Today, we're looking at something called the regular driver. Simply put, the regular driver is the person who drives the car most often, and by most often, we don't mean the person who puts the most kilometers on the clock. We mean the person who drives the car the most. Let's look at an example. You drive the car 5 times a week, and you only put 75 kilometers on the clock. Your wife drives the car once a week and racks up 200 kilometers. Who's the regular driver? You. Because while your wife drives further, you drive the car more often. It's important to note who the regular driver is because it determines the premium and can affect the outcome of your claim. You see, if the regular driver is someone else, the wrong driver is insured, you've been paying the wrong premium for the wrong policy all along. Want to learn more on the regular driver? Visit kingclass.co.na and check out our personal policy doc. Then when you're done, go ahead and get a super cheap quote. It only takes a few minutes. Stay savvy. Until next time.
A look at the weather forecast. First, an advisory from the Windhoek Met Office. East wind conditions will persist over the coastal areas this weekend. The Namibia interior is sunny and hot in the Clarus region, elsewhere partly cloudy and hot to very hot. A fresh southwesterly wind is expected in the south and the west. The coast mostly sunny and warm to hot. The wind moderate to fresh northwesterly to northeasterly, but southwesterly at times in the south. Now we look at minimum and maximum temperatures across the country and beyond.